Look at this word piano. You can't not read it. You can't just see the word before your brain automatically attaches meaning. Your brain forcefully attaches meaning that has already been programmed into you. So when you look at the word piano, you can't help but read it. But if a Mandarin speaker saw this word, it would appear to just be pixels on the screen, lines and squiggles. Now look at this word in Chinese. All you see is lines and squiggles. You can't read it and it means nothing. But if a Chinese person saw this, they couldn't help but see the word piano in it. Their mind would automatically apply meaning to it, so they literally couldn't see the lines and squiggles like you do. I think what this means is that you're essentially blind to the raw facts and appearances of objects that you are accustomed to. You can only see them through your automatically applied meanings, which are programmed into you by your culture. So you see the world and its objects on your terms, not on their own terms as they really are. So when you look at a car, you see the car through your programmed meanings. Because of this, the car doesn't appear strange or abnormal in any way, because you can't help but see it through your culturally conditioned viewpoint and automatically applied meanings. But imagine if someone from 2000 BC were placed on the side of a city road. Everything that we take for granted that seems totally normal would seem completely alien to them. They would see the car as the strange, sputtering machine that it really is. But you can't do that. You can't help but see the world through your programmed meanings. And the sad thing about this is that it takes out the mystery and amazement out of everything. But if you can dissociate yourself from that and take a step back, standing outside, and learn to see the world from this outsider view, all of a sudden, nothing is obvious, apparent, or normal. Not even the most basic facts like the sky, or gravity, or the ground, or your own face. I think this is why children are amazed by even the smallest things like a butterfly landing on the tip of their finger. They haven't fully developed these immediate cultural judgments and meanings that we automatically tack on to everything that we see. So they're just seeing the raw butterfly on its own terms without any applied meaning. Trying to see the butterfly as the amazed child does would be like trying to see the word piano on the screen purely as pixel squiggles without actually seeing the word piano. It's nearly impossible to do. But if you get good enough at practicing this, you begin to get flashes of it. Flashes when you look at nature or people from this detached and outside perspective, seeing the raw objects on its own terms. And when this happens, it's so shocking and astonishing because the smallest and the most ordinary things become the most tremendous and incomprehensible and mysterious. A cloud, the moon, or a tree are seen for what they really are, before meaning and explanation and a sense of normalcy is attached to them. You've probably experienced a small example of this called semantic satiation. This happens when you repeat a word so many times in a short period that your brain temporarily loses its connection to the word's meaning. The word might begin to feel foreign or strange or meaningless, just a pure sound. When you repeat a word to the point that it loses its meaning, you're momentarily separating the linguistic form from the idea that it's supposed to represent, almost like hearing just the pure noise of language itself. You're perceiving the language for what it really is, just sounds. The meaning isn't built in. But this sort of thing can happen not just with language, but with everyday experiences. A hairy four-legged creature running in the park after a ball that we just call a dog becomes so hilariously mysterious you could watch it for hours. This might be why watching Star Wars, for example, can be exciting because you're exposed to all of these new planets and creatures and skyscapes. You see some slimy, twisty, anthropomorphic slug or some other fantastical creature, and it's immediately interesting and abnormal and unusual because you have no meaning to automatically apply to it. So you just see it for what it is in all of its strangeness. But from the perspective of the characters in the movie who associate with such creatures each day, they would seem rather ordinary or expected, like us when we look at a regular old sheep or chicken. You might see a scene in Star Wars where there's a shot of the sky and there's two suns setting on the horizon, or maybe a planet in the sky which appears 10 times bigger than the moon does to us. And you look at that with this amazement. You're sort of struck with it all, thinking how cool it would be to see a massive planet like that taking up a large portion of the sky, or to see two suns setting on the horizon. But for the people living on that planet, there's nothing extraordinary or notable about that. They've seen it every day. That's just the way things are to them. But for one of those people to come to our planet and to see just one sun in the sky and the changing phases of the moon, it might appear just as inexplicable and wondrous as these fictional skyscapes seem to us. Imagine this. What if Jupiter was closer to the Earth so that it appeared gargantuan, taking up a quarter of the sky? It would seem absolutely amazing, spectacular, and mysterious. We would all be awestruck, totally astonished and overwhelmed with its size and its reality. But after a generation or two, or maybe even within a couple of years or months, we would become so accustomed to it that if you look up at it, you wouldn't think anything of it. It would just be normal. We'd see it just like we do the sun or the vastness of the blue sky itself, something totally taken for granted. Seeing a unicorn would be breathtaking, but isn't a regular house cat just as shocking and magical as, say, a unicorn? The point is here that nothing needs to be the way that it is, or be here at all. It all appears to be metaphysically contingent, and there's no given explanation or meaning for it supplied by nature, only what we ascribe to it. But if you can drop that way of perceiving and see the world like an outsider, then everything is unfathomably grand and mysterious. Imagine what an alien who's never seen a human before would think if they landed on Earth and observed humans for the first time. How would they see us? They might see these creatures with a tuft of hair on their heads, fleshy and upright that have two eyes. Human faces might appear strange and not normal to this alien. But the crazy thing is that with some focus, you can actually get flashes and see yourself and other people, other humans, from this outsider, detached perspective. You can render yourself the object of your own subjective inquiry, and then render the thing inquiring about the object as another object of inquiry. And then again and again, to the point where you're observing yourself as a creature that's observing itself as a creature observing itself. And in that sort of focus, your own face in the mirror becomes something so inexplicable and astonishing and incomprehensible that it's unfathomable. It's anything but normal. It's like a fish in water. When a fish is in water, it doesn't know it because it's surrounded in it and that's all it's ever known. But as soon as the fish jumps out of the water, it can see it for the first time. It becomes visible because it stands apart from it. So it's as if you only become aware of something when you get outside of it, because then you're able to see it for the first time.